Seton, what's poll question we're going to go with first hour of the program?
Best day yesterday. Pittsburgh Steelers, Houston Rockets, Atlanta Hawks, others.
Steelers, Rockets, Hawks.
Other.
I'd say the Steelers, it feels like, I don't like giving up Minkah Fitzpatrick. Jalen Ramsey's 34. Jonnu Smith, he had a really good year last year, but you already have a tight end. Can you have enough tight ends? How old is Jalen Ramsey, Paulie?
He will be 31 when the season starts.
31, okay. So he's 31. Okay. He's going to be going against the Bengals, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase twice during the year. Okay. This already was a secondary that wasn't very good. I think they were like 25th in pass defense. Then you got the T.J. Watt situation as well. That's kind of just hanging there. At what point do you say, we're at an impasse and we won't be able to do anything here? At what point do you say, do we want to give him $40 million a year? He's got one more year left, and then he becomes an unrestricted free agent. What can you get for him? Would you dare trade T.J. Watt? What if now it won't happen, but I was just wondering this. How about the Bengals and Steelers make a trade? The Steelers get Trey Hendrickson, and then their first-round pick, Stewart, who I think is still unsigned. So now I got two edge rushers. Maybe Hendrickson cost me $30 million a year, and then I get my first-round pick in. Now I got a couple of edge rushers there, and the Bengals then pay for T.J. Watt. They give him $40 million. I'll hang up and listen. Yes, Paulie.
That does fix everything.
But the Bengals and Steelers aren't going to make them.
But if you both win a trade, you can trade in the division.
Yes, I guess. Ish. I don't know. But I would, we'll ask Bill Cowher about this. At what point do you say, can you just have him play out this year? And then you're going to lose him or risk losing him. You're all in on this year. This trade, bringing Ramsey in, Smith in. You got, Aaron Rodgers, obviously, and DK Metcalf, the move. Like, this is it. But is it you're all in if you don't have T.J. Watt in? So I would say the Steelers did pretty well yesterday because when the trade was announced, it was Jalen Ramsey was traded to the Steelers. Then all of a sudden, Shefty filled in, the other stuff, and that is Minkah Fitzpatrick going to go to the Dolphins. And then you're also getting another weapon for Aaron Rodgers and Jonnu Smith. Felt like that was a win, at least a temporary win for the Steelers.
Not sign a homegrown Hall of Fame first ballot player in T.J. Watt, and I'm not sure what we're waiting for. We know Trey Hendrickson's dealing with his contract in Cincinnati. We know Micah Parsons is dealing with his contract with Dallas. So if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm going right now. The day I make that Jalen Ramsey trade, I'm calling up T.J. Watt's agent and saying, hey, look, we have plenty of room to get this done. Let's go. Let's get it done. It's only going to get more expensive.
Jeremy, what is going on with those negotiations?
Yeah, Dan, when I talk to people with the team, the message is pretty much the same. It's that, hey, we're working on this. We want T.J. Watt to be a Steeler. There's not really a sense of trying to trade him. Some of the trade talk has been surprising league-wide, talking to other teams. They feel like the Steelers want to make him a legacy-type player that will be there long-term. It's just, and the Steelers acknowledge this, these negotiations are tricky because the money is so massive now. We're talking about maybe making him the highest-paid edge rusher in the NFL, $40+ million per year. There are a lot of details that come with that. But the feeling is
that with Trey Hendrickson, EJ, what do you, when you look at the situation the Steelers are in with T.J. Watt, what goes through your mind?
Well, the biggest thing is you do all these transactions in the offseason. You're patient for Aaron Rodgers. You draft some really good players like Caleb Johnson to help the run game. You bring in DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith. Everybody's getting paid. And if they don't get T.J. Watt, guys, all that's a wash. I'm sorry. I just don't see this team, like I said, getting to a playoff or even a playoff win if you don't have the cornerstone piece of your defense. Look, TJ Watt is that good of a defensive end. And you look at the quarterbacks in that division, along with some of the receivers, if they're not getting pressured, you have no chance. And so I think it's so important at this point. I will hope it gets done this week, guys, if they get TJ Watt in there. And Himbo gave me this stat. So TJ Watt's had 3 titles as far as sacks since 1982 when that stat became an actual thing. And the other person ahead of him is Deacon Jones. We're talking about rare air, a current Hall of Famer at this point already in his career. I hear that he's 30, but you have to get this deal done because he's a huge piece to the success of the Steelers.
And EJ, you know, as a former player, you can't bring in all these other players, be it, you know, DK Metcalf and everyone else that we talked about, and not pay TJ Watt. Your locker room would look at you upside down like, how can't you reward somebody that's not only been so productive, but has done everything right?
So what's fascinating about this situation this week is Adam Schefter's report a couple days ago that teams are kind of monitoring this, right? Like pondering the idea of can they eventually trade for him if things go south with Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh still doesn't want to consider that possibility. But EJ, if it got to that, who should be calling the Steelers to try to get TJ Watt?
Yeah, Dan Campbell should be calling them on speed dial, guys. Look, if he is able to join a Detroit Lions team, and I understand that Aiden Hutchinson had the injury last year, he's progressing, he's going to be able to go this season. You would imagine this is a team that's already ready to go throughout the playoffs, and I think they're a pass rusher away, along with Aiden Hutchinson, to win a Super Bowl. So if I'm a team like Detroit Lions and TJ Watt all of a sudden becomes available, I am calling the Steelers day in, day out until that
NFC East affair in that NFC title game. All right. Mike T, what about this one? Which second-year quarterback most likely to be an MVP dark horse?
Bo Nix of the Denver Broncos, Gary, and here's why. If we're talking about the Broncos competing with the Chiefs in a meaningful way, it's going to start with their defense, but Bo Nix was extremely efficient as a rookie, better than candidly I expected. They went out and added R.J. Harvey in the draft, a running back, and Evan Ingram, which will just make Bo Nix even more efficient. And you think about what Sean Payton did with Drew Brees, I think Bo Nix is on that sort of trajectory. Okay. And if we're talking about a surprise team in the Broncos, which a lot of us are, it's going to be led by their second-year quarterback, Bo Nix.
Yeah, Trevor Scales has been saying Bo Nix is the best quarterback in that AFC West.
What are we doing?
He didn't say that. Bo Nix did lead all rookie quarterbacks in passing yards and passing touchdowns last season. Mike Tannenbaum, great to see you as always, my friend. Thanks so much.
Like, say what? When he saw his kid there, but so are Steelers fans. It's the Fowler Files with Jeremy Fowler now. And Jeremy, TJ Watt, he's the topic of conversation here. He continues to want more money, but as we all know, more money, more problems. So what specifically is holding up a new contract?
Well, people have told you around the league, Scooby, believe that it's guaranteed money, it's term length. A lot of the details that get sticky this time of year, especially as you're leading up to training camp. Now, I talked to somebody with the team who said, look, these are complicated deals to do, but we are working on it. We want TJ Watt here. So there's not a lot of traction right now as far as a potential trade, although there would certainly be a lot of interest if the Steelers would tap into that. But this is a situation where he's probably going to be the highest paid edge rusher in the league when this is all said and done. It just depends on when the Steelers can do it. Typically, they like to do their deals either around training camp or leading into week 1. So this is far from over.
Yeah, so continue to wait on that, Steelers fans. But within that division is another pass rusher hoping to get paid. Bengals all-pro rusher Trey Hendrickson.
All right, Vikings fans. This is one of those stories you cannot ignore. We've got contract drama heating up in Pittsburgh involving one of the best defenders in the entire NFL. And guess what? Minnesota might be getting ready to pounce. Yep. TJ Watt could actually be on the move, and the Vikings are reportedly one of the teams keeping a very, very close eye on the situation. So here's the deal. According to Adam Schefter, things are not going well between TJ Watt and the Steelers right now. He said, and I quote, "They're far apart right now, and even though the Steelers keep saying they don't want to trade him, multiple teams have already started exploring trade scenarios." And here's the thing that Schefter said that really caught my attention. You can't say you want to keep this guy badly and then be that far apart in contract talks. And he's right. You just can't have it both ways. TJ Watt is heading into the final year of his deal. That 4-year, $112 million contract he signed back in 2021. Back then, that made him the highest paid defender in the league. But now, he's 7th in average annual value, AAV, among edge rushers. He's making way less than Myles Garrett, who's at $40 million per year. And guess who's about to reset the market? Micah Parsons. That deal could reach $200 million, so Watt wants to be paid, and honestly, he deserves to be. We're talking about a guy who's racked up 96.5 sacks in 7 seasons, was the 2021 Defensive Player of the Year, and is still playing at an elite level. He's 7th in average annual value, AAV, among edge rushers. And here's where it gets exciting for us, Vikings fans. Sources say Minnesota is monitoring the situation closely, and could be one of the first teams to pick up the phone if Pittsburgh finally opens the door to a trade. And why wouldn't we? Look, we've got a talented young core on defense, but we still need that dominant edge rusher who can wreck a game by himself. He's 7th in average annual value, AAV, among edge rushers. And let's be real, you pair TJ Watt with Jonathan Greenard and Ivan Pace Jr. flying around. That's nightmare fuel for opposing QBs. Of course, a trade like this wouldn't be cheap. The Steelers are still saying they don't want to trade him, but when the contract dispute drags on, something's gotta give. So the question becomes, would Kwesi Adofo-Mensah pull the trigger? We've got draft capital, we've got cap space flexibility, and especially if Watt's willing to play ball with a restructured deal. And let's not pretend we're not in win now mode. If you believe in JJ McCarthy and in the weapons we've built around him, then this is the kind of bold move that takes a team from playoff hopeful to serious contender. Now here's where I want to hear from you. Would you trade a first rounder or even a first and a third for TJ Watt right now? Do you think it's worth the gamble at this stage of his career? Or should we stay the course and keep building through the draft? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be replying to as many of you as I can. You guys always bring the heat. And listen, if this thing starts to snowball and Pittsburgh really considers moving him, you better believe Report Vikings will be on top of every single update. So smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and hit the bell so you never miss a breaking Vikings story. Let's keep the energy up. And as always, Skull baby, let's go.